So you know that feeling you get when you find something cool and you're like, yo, this is sick. I wonder what else they've made. So you go check and then you're like, wait, they also made that? Well, if there was ever to be a personification of that feeling, I think I know exactly who they would be. Me, Neil Cicierega. Chances are you've heard of Neil, or at least seen one of his many creations. There's Brody Quest, Bustin', The Ultimate Showdown, Potter Puppa Pals, the Mouth albums, the list goes on. He's truly a jack of all trades, and the fact his other projects don't get nearly as much recognition is pretty disappointing. If you go on his Wikipedia page, he has almost 10 different professions, with none of them being lackluster in the slightest. Let's go through them all, starting with his main focus, music. Neil's been making music since the 1990s, when all they were just kind of bad midis. Since then, he's greatly improved and reached into a lot of different types and genres of music with his over 500 song discography. He began publicly releasing music as Trapezoid in 2000, with his first album, Outsmart, having some pretty decent midis, but nothing too outstanding. This continued with his next two albums, until he got into a copyright dispute with a band who shared the Trapezoid name. He decided to change it to Deporitaz, an anagram of trapezoid, but quickly abandoned the name soon afterwards so he could start completely anew. His new name? Lemon Demon. So far, he's released 7 albums and 4 EPs under the name, each one more professional and higher quality than the last. His debut album, Clown Circus, was a major evolution. The songs finally had lyrics. Neil's lyrics have almost always been about a story of some sort, ranging from being about someone who's in love with their doctor while suffering from amnesia, to a machine that simply has no function. Neil's lyrics are very entertaining, and always manage to keep the songs fresh on subsequent listens. Granted, his lyric writing and singing wasn't nearly as good back then as it is today, but the instrumentals completely make up for that. Live from the Haunted Candle Shop is somewhat similar in feel and quality, most likely due to it being released only 3 months after Clown Circus, but his next album, Hip to the Java Bean, really amped up the quality. The vocals are improved, the instrumentals are more professional, and the album overall feels like it has way more of a centralized and overarching theme than the last two. And the quality just kept increasing with each new album, while still keeping the same weird and unique style he's always had. View Monster was the last album he released for 8 years, as he was making sure everything he put into this next album was as good as could be. He did release 4 EPs in between to tide everyone over while they waited though. Almanac 2009 and Live Only Not are just updated and remastered versions of songs already in previous albums that have been neatly sorted into EPs.
Everything works out nice in the end, with someone married a moon. It'll be fine. Why don't we sit back, mellow again, and have a nice afternoon? It'll be fine.
Nature Tapes was a collection of not-so family-friendly songs that contain cursing, references to sex, you know, all that wholesome stuff. I Am Become Christmas is an album centered around Christmas, surprising, I know, and is my favorite EP Neil's made.
With a little bit of brains, maybe we can do away with the lack of candy canes. Make Christmas every day. Is this the first time that you've ever seen a aurora borealis crush mankind?
I highly recommend it, alongside all of his other music. Surprising, I know. In 2016, he finally released his proudest work yet, Spirit Phone. It had a much more professional appearance than his earlier work, from the cover art, to the track names, to the songs themselves. seemed to take himself much more seriously for this album, most likely due to his 8-year-long journey making it. While the vibe the album gave off was definitely much more serious and sinister, it was still just as spectacular. The instrumentals were truly amazing, his vocals had improved so much you would have barely recognized him from his earlier work, and the topics and ideas he brings up in the song's lyrics are so much more interesting and thought-provoking than his older, goofier stuff. At the time of making this video, Neil hasn't announced a new Lemon Demon album, but it's basically guaranteed that he's working on one, with my guess for the release being mid to late 2023, judging from the previous releases. Neil also has commentary tracks for a few of his albums, where he talks about each song as it's playing and his thought process while making it, alongside some fun trivia and small nitpicks. Neil's also done quite a few live performances, with most of them being at Lemonic Demonade, his self-made event that he held annually in his backyard from between 2006 to 2008, where fans could attend and listen to the live performances while they had a barbecue and just an overall good time. His other performances were at Youmacon, an anime convention located in America. His live performances definitely aren't the best, but they are very enjoyable to watch.
Oh my god, nah, is that true? Nepeta? Is that Nepeta? Or it's supposed to be Nepeta? What the fuck? Lamau, okay.
But that's not all he's done. He's also released 4 mashup albums under his real name called Mouth Sounds, Mouth Silence, Mouth Moods, and Mouth Dreams, which is only released relatively recently, and made me go fucking ape mode when it was announced. And now, an intermission.
The story's ending may surprise you.
Fucking love it. It's such a good fucking video. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Is that real? Is that real? What the fuck? What the fuck? Is that real? Is that real?
Sounds and Silence were released around the same time, as they were intended to act as variants of each other, you could say. Sounds' running gag is All-Star, which is used very frequently throughout the album, sometimes well, sometimes intentionally horrendously. Silence is supposed to be the all-star free variant of Sounds, hence the name. Of course, it still contains small bits of all-star hidden throughout the album, sometimes a very slowed down section of it to serve as background noise, sometimes Morse code that translates to the lyrics of the song.
I believe in the sand beneath my toes. The beach gives a feeling, an earthy feeling. I believe in the faith that glows, and the bow-eyed codes can make me cry. When I'm with you, I feel like I could die, and that would be alright.
Despite that, not everything in the albums has to do with All-Star. There are tons of really amazing mashups I've never seen equaled in quality anywhere else. Mouth Moods was released a few years later and brought new mashups with even higher quality audio editing.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's tomorrow, today. There's 26 volumes of an encyclopedia on one disc, on one CD disc.
While this one still has All-Star, its main joke is 1 week, as it's usually considered a pretty bad song.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying get that together, come back and see me.
The most recent addition to the Mouth saga is Mouth Dreams, which is a bit more experimental than the other 3 albums, with a much larger focus on comedy and sentence mixing in general.
My mama was a train, but I'm stuck in baby prison.
Despite this, I still thoroughly enjoy the album, and consider it my favorite of the 4. Neil has also made many songs that were for other projects, like his score for the Not For Resale documentary and all the music he's done for his films, or just never made it onto a full album, like a large portion of the songs on his music channel and Patreon. Quite a few of these songs don't fit with the theme of the album, so Neil uses them as bonus tracks, which are separate from the other songs. And my god, they can be so fucking good sometimes.
The sun's not rising and the birds are dead. There's only dust on the floor where people were
There are 7 albums that include bonus tracks, and 2 of them have a bonus track as my favorite song, with a bonus track being 2nd on another 2 of them, 3rd on one, 6th on another, and the final one in 10th place. Despite him having a lot of his songs organized, there are still quite a few that are all over the place, whether that be his bonus tracks as previously mentioned, on his Patreon, his music channel, or just uploading some random website. If you want to see a full list of all of his released work, there's a document that was created by Viva Reverie that lists his entire discography that I've linked in the description. If you want to support her for completing this grueling task, go check out our YouTube channel, also in the description. She makes cool animations and sick typography stuff, highly recommend. I've also linked a tier list of basically every Lemon Demon / Neil Cicierega song, bar the ones in Mouth Dreams because this list is old, and my tiering of them, alongside other cool things that I like related to Neil. Related to cool things is my introduction to Neil. It began with a Guitar Hero YouTuber by the name of Asai back in 2018. He was playing a chart of a mashup by DJ Cummerbund, and in the intro of the video he said this. At first, I didn't think much of it and didn't decide to do any research into him. A week or so later, I remembered the video and decided to look him up. I clicked on his music channel and listened to the first thing I saw once I clicked on videos, which was an unfinished mashup called Dancing Tears. I thought, huh, this is pretty cool, and then decided to listen to Crocodile Chop. When I listened to it, I thought, oh damn, this is really good. I wonder what else he's made. I then began my Neil binge, listening to any and all songs I found on his channel, which leads us to now. While music is the main chunk of Neil's career, that doesn't mean he's lacking in other areas. Quite the opposite, in fact. His main focus aside from music is filmmaking, shown by his humble beginnings in homemade music videos, which later became incredibly good. He's also worked on a video series which began all the way back in 2008 with his friends Kevin James and Ryan Murphy called The New Kids on the Rock, where the 3 of them go on fantastical adventures together. The latest episode was a 20-minute special that saw the friends finding an evil arcade machine player that they can only defeat by going inside the machine itself. More recently, he's been making short stories and skits like The Basement Man and The Lawn Mowing Man. Highly recommend checking some of these out for yourself, especially if you share Neil's chaotic and over-the-top sense of humor. His filmmaking also ties into his most popular creation, Potter Puppet Pals, a puppet show about Harry Potter and his friends messing about and having fun. It completely blew up in popularity when it came out back in 2006, with the most viewed video having over 190 million views. He also invented the immensely popular animation style animutations, a type of animation where you get random images and move them, spin them, stretch them, really anything. These grew massively in popularity soon after he released them in 2001, and it started a new wave of animation using this style, with Newgrounds being an especially prominent place to post them. Another animated creation of his is related to Sean Vulliez, who started making animations for his songs back in 2005. Most of his animations didn't get much attention outside of Neil's community, but then, at the end of the year, he released the smash hit that was The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. It gained worldwide attention and views up in the hundreds of millions. Despite the massive success the animation saw, Neil's musical popularity unfortunately didn't really increase much, if at all. Neil would then re-release the song on Dinosaur Orchestra a year later. Then there's his game career, where he made, or at least started, a shitload of games using a somewhat simple but flexible game making tool for kids called Click and Play, with his favorite types of games to make being puzzle point and click. More recently, he's been getting back into making games, with him releasing Monster Breeder a few years ago, a text-based adventure game where you can find fictional monsters like Beetlejuice and Cookie Monster and breed them together, which, in this case, would be called Cookie Juice. It's free to play in your browser, blah blah, it's in the description, blah blah. He's also currently working on a game called Icon Architect 1.0, which seems to be an old-fashioned point-and-click adventure game. Not much is known about it bar what's posted on the Twitter account for it, but he announced it back in 2015, so maybe he's close to finishing it. Neil doesn't really hype up his releases most of the time. He mainly just releases them out of nowhere or announces the release only a few days prior, so it's definitely possible. He's also uploaded sorts of bait and switch type videos to his channel, like his Guide To series, that sees him impersonating a fan of whatever he's talking about, and then listing off the characters' names completely incorrectly.
Pissman, furry grunt, bone zones.
He also incorporates spubbies, a subsection of graphic design that is basically just remaking a logo to say something else. Spubbies have many uses, one of them being the ability to confuse anyone who doesn't get that it's a joke, while at the same time giving a laugh to the people who do understand it. There are plenty of other works of art on this channel too, like the lyric video for the song Fly Away by Lenny Kravitz, which is edited like a video from 2006 despite being released in 2014, and incorporates sentence mixing to make the singer say some really stupid shit.
I want a Milky Way, just a little fucking dragonfly. I want to get fucking high.
Another of Neil's many creations is Mouth, a wonderfully edited acid trip that inspired the widespread use of the content aware scale, this thing for those unaware. Despite its lower view count, it still managed to send shockwaves of influence throughout the internet, which have lasted to this day. Soon after the video came out, Mouth Sounds was released with this track on it, although it was under a different name. A more commonly known video of his is Bustin', an edited version of the music video for the Ghostbusters theme song that, as you can imagine, changes the lyrics to be a bit more, immature. It later saw a more polished appearance on Mouth Moods 2 years after the initial release. All of these things have combined to attract what I would consider a pretty goddamn cool community. It's probably a combination of Neil's upbeat and kind nature combined with a smaller amount of people, so a smaller minority of assholes trying to piss everyone off for no reason. As I've already mentioned, Viva Reverie has spent a lot of time and effort cataloging all of Neil's music, as well as making pretty fucking sick videos for his songs. AimKid is another highly skilled animator whom I adore. The way the characters move so smoothly but chaotically at the same time is something I'm truly amazed by. I originally found her channel from an animation of the song playing right now, I've Got Some Falling To Do, and I've been hooked ever since. AimKid obviously has other animations of Neil's songs, like Modify, My Trains, and Soft Fuzzy Man, which is my personal favorite. AimKid's also now gotten her art on the physical release of View Monster, which is pretty goddamn swag if you ask me. Speaking of which, Neil has quite a bit of merchandise that he sells. He has posters of the first 3 mashup albums and Spirit Phone, which I recently bought, alongside physical editions of View Monster, Spirit Phone, Nature Tapes, and I Am Become Christmas, which can come in either disc, vinyl, or cassette form, plus some recently added pins, shirts, and posters. Anyways, back to the community. Covers are a big part of it, with Shadow probably being a prime example of this. They've made 7 full covers of Neil's songs, ranging from Cabinet Man to Aurora Borealis to The Ceiling. Remixes and mashups are similar in size, with the first big instance being with Brody Quest, which is a supposed day in the life of famous actor Adrian Brody. A large number of mashups were created using the song shortly after its release, which inspired Neil to create a megamix, where he mashed together, get it? All of the best mashups into one massive song. This was his first experience with mashups, and he liked them so much he decided to make an entire album with them, which is why we now have the Mouth series. Of course, there are still mashups being made, but they aren't getting anywhere near as much attention as they once were. Either way, if we're going to be talking about the community, we can't just ignore the memes. Every community has them, and Neil's is no exception. The majority of the memes are related to Spirit Phone due to the wider appeal of the album. There's still some classic Neil memes though. There's also the GIFs people make, and legit like 100% of them are ironic. Seriously, I cannot think of a single time I saw an unironic GIF of Neil. There are also quite a few communities that are centered around Neil, like some subreddits and Discord servers. But anyways, since Neil has posted a lot of content online, it'd be safe to assume that he has a lot of different social media platforms to post them on, right? And you'd be correct. He has 6 different YouTube channels, each one for different things. His main channel, Neil Cicierega, is for his films, skits, most of his high production value stuff. All of his other high quality stuff goes on Guaranteed Video, where he posts podcasts, song reviews, and other shit that he does with his friends. His third channel, Potter Papa Pals, is for, well, Potter Papa Pals. Of course, there's his music channel, Neil Cicierega Music, which he actually didn't always own. A fan had been running it since 2008, but in 2017 Neil asked to take over the channel so he could post stuff only he had access to. 2 Neil 2 Cicierega is for random shit he's made, I guess. There's not really a cohesive theme. His channel name, and many others like it, are a reference to Too Fast Too Furious, the sequel to The Fast and the Furious. His last channel, Trapezoid SA, is barely known about. In fact, I only found it while looking through the discography document while researching for this video. It was made purely for this video as an Easter egg to reward anyone who found it.
DeviantArt, High Five, my other YouTube channel.
The only video on the channel is a YTP style edit of a trailer for the movie First Sunday, and I gotta say, it's about what you would expect from Neil.
Somebody got to steal money from a church woman. First Sunday. We didn't come here to hurt nobody. These two best friends try to make a place cute. It'll take more than these two best friends.
He also has Twitter, where he relatively often says things and posts cool things he's found. That's on his main account though. He has quite a few other accounts, like Endless Jeopardy, a bot he coded that lets you play Jeopardy, well, endlessly. He also has multiple other bots, like Full Screen Dream, a bot that clips parts of old movies and shows and makes them into GIFs. He has a Facebook account, which he mainly uses for more personal events like parties and stuff, alongside 2 other barely used accounts. His accounts also include a few Tumblr pages, where he barely posts anything apart from the very occasional meme on his main account, ran a creepypasta version of a Windows 95 tips blog, shared shitty slides from presentations, and showed stupid autocompletions of Google queries. He probably has a Reddit account, but I haven't found any posts from him, which isn't very surprising considering this video.
Reddit, never go on Reddit, never go on Reddit, never go on Reddit.
His SoundCloud is basically for random mashups that haven't been released in a full album yet, and Bandcamp has the majority of his released music, so if you feel like listening to it there, go ahead. Then there's his Patreon, where you can access exclusive songs and other goodies if you pledge some money and become a patron. He unfortunately doesn't have that many supporters, but it's not really that surprising considering he's never really promoted it anywhere, and I probably wouldn't even be making this video in the first place if Neil was already really popular, since I would only be rehashing what others have already said before me. I doubt he made it specifically for the money though. It was probably just for the people who really want to see everything he's made and have some spare cash lying around. And finally, his website. Oh, it's just links. Well, at least it looks cool. Wait, he has another website. I'm sure this one's much better. Still just links. But don't fret, he has yet another website. I'm sure that's much better. Fuck. Hey, at least I can get a free copy of Battlestar. God fucking damn it, Neil! So, that was Neil Cicierega. There was a lot of other specifics I didn't mention because I didn't want to drag out the video with boring details nobody cares about, so I tried to make it as simple and easy to follow as possible. At least I think I did. Everything I mentioned and didn't mention will be in the description, so if you want to learn more about Neil, see some cool stuff people have made with his stuff, or know my thoughts in this video, click on the Google Doc link. It's much easier to keep it in one place like that, as it gives me more creative freedom and makes the description less messy. I also have a Discord server, so if you want a place where you can just chill out, then I encourage you to join. Anyways, pretty sure that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.